Well, hey there, everyone. It's Brian C. here with a brand new episode of the Nova Scotiable Show. This is a show designed for discussions about events and other lifestyle stuff here in Nova Scotia. So roll the intro. So in the last Feed Nova Scotia bulletin, I noticed an article from January 26th that they mentioned. It was called 5 Myths and Misconceptions You Might Have About Food Banking. And I thought it might be a good topic to expand on and maybe do a little myth busting, huh? So to get a little more clarity on this subject, I have Courtney Bragg joining me here on the show. She's with the St. Margaret's Bay Food Bank. Hi, Courtney. Thanks for taking the time to be on the show and help me do a little myth busting.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Oh, our pleasure. So tell us a little bit about your position and what you do there at the St. Margaret's Bay Food Bank.
For sure. So I'm the chair of the board of the St. Margaret's Bay Food Bank. So I took on that role in January of this year. I joined the food bank board in June of last year, so I'm kind of a newbie compared to a lot of our seasoned volunteers, which is great. It's such a passionate board. The volunteers at the food bank and the thrift store are awesome. The staff, it's just a great team, and it brings together a whole variety of people with different experiences and education and circumstances. And yeah, it's a great crew. So I'm really happy to be part of it. And it's a learning curve for me, but I was really excited to get involved.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you doing that. And it seems like I have the right person to talk to about food bank related stuff. So let's kind of get into it here. Now, I'm pretty sure most people are familiar with food banks, right? And most of them don't have firsthand knowledge of what actually happens there and how they operate. So maybe this can lead to some misconceptions, like mentioned in the article. So without going through it word for word or anything in too much detail, let's go to myth number 1. Food bank misuse is rampant. So Courtney, can you dispel this myth for us? Tell us why this isn't so. What do you think?
Well, I definitely agree that this is a misconception. And I know I was looking at the same Food Banks Canada article as well. The majority of people who come to food banks do it as a absolute last ditch effort to help their families. It's not something people want to do. I find that my personal take is that food bank usage is more of a topic nowadays because of global food insecurity and financial pressures, and it's something we hear more about. And I think what comes with that is broader discussion and also broader misconceptions about how these things actually work. But our experience at our food bank is absolutely folks will only reach out. It's a really emotional and difficult decision for folks to reach out to a food bank. And we wish that wasn't the case. We want people to feel safe and comfortable and respected when they come to the food bank. And people aren't doing that casually. It's not something they do to take advantage of the system.
Right.
At our food bank in St. Margaret's Bay, and I know it's common throughout, we'll never turn anyone away. There's no kind of income testing or anything like that. What we will do is if someone is coming from outside our catchment area, we will give them the food for their first visit and then make sure that they're connected with the food resource in their own community. But we'll never turn them away and we'll never say, no, you're not getting food, because it's such a huge decision for people to come forward, and it's a really difficult one. So yeah, definitely a misconception.
Yeah, I guess food bank misuse is rather rare, according to the article they mentioned. So it sounds like you're reinforcing that. People seem to only go to once they've exhausted all their other options. So yeah, so
I
definitely
noticed in
myth
that
busted.
article, yeah, in the article as well, they Food Banks Canada said we wish that people didn't come to us after they've maxed out their credit cards or after they've gone through these issues, because we're there to help earlier than that. But of course, it's a personal decision for everyone who wants to access these resources. So we should respect that too.
That's right. Yeah. All right. Well, I think we crushed that one. So, myth number two, only people who are unemployed need food banks. So, yeah, we're on a roll, I guess. Can we crush this myth too? What do you think?
Absolutely, definitely, we can crush this one. Employed people are food bank clients. Really, I'd say that almost a lot of people from all different walks of life are food bank clients. And as we've seen in locally, globally, nationally, the cost of living is going up and up and up. Prices, of course, are going up and up and up for a variety of reasons. So they are at food banks, we are seeing like an increase in usage for sure, which I believe we see. Um, I believe all food banks most likely are, which is devastating. But we're happy to help, and of course, like that's why we're doing what we're doing. But the more people who have what we would see as a conventional kind of 9 to 5 life are feeling the financial pressures and are with the cost of rent and other bills, a lot of people are having to turn to food banks who didn't before. So
That's right.
definitely bust that one because a lot of folks
Yeah.
are
Awesome.
working and just can't seem to make ends meet, which is totally understandable.
That's right. I mean, the cost of living is increasing, in some cases outpacing the wage, and not even full time employment can be enough sometimes. So, yeah. So, glad you're there doing what you're doing. All right. So, myth number three, we really killed number two. So, on to number three. People could overcome food insecurity by simply budgeting and meal planning. Now, I've got a couple things to say on that one myself, but I want to hear your take on it, and then I'll chime in. So, what do you think on this one?
I once again I would like to bust this myth because while you can find some savings by planning and prepping and those kinds of things, it's certainly not a substantial, significant amount that would like provide you the ability to not go seek other resources. Also, the majority of folks' income is spent on housing, um, electricity, clothing. There's so many other factors that play a huge role outside of the food that you make and buy and get in your home. So definitely would not fix the gap that is presented by
That's
food
right.
insecurity.
Yeah. And for me, this one seems to have a horrible do better vibe, and, I've been there, right? And when the money just isn't there, there's no amount of budgeting and meal planning that would be enough. So, that's just the simple bare fact of it is. And the saying I like to use is when the money isn't there, the cupboards are bare. It's really just that simple. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like how do you prep something you don't have? Like, and also, I
that's right.
mean, a lot of folks who would be working, some folks are working multiple jobs to try and get food in their home and like look after their families. And to like, when, even still, even if you did all the prepping and gardening in the world, when would you do that? You have to go to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
right.
it's a
Yeah.
tough spot. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so I think we got that one. Let's move on to myth number four. Food banks tend to make people dependent on them. Now, see, I understand where that comes from, but I'm sure there's many reasons why that's not the case. So let's get into it and bust this myth number four. What do you think?
Well, definitely want to bust that one too. The majority of food bank users, as we've talked about already, like they're coming as a last resort. And we're glad we're there for them. And as I mentioned, like would like to support them before they hit a really like terrible situation. But folks who join or get into food bank usage also want to leave at the first opportunity. Like they want to make sure that food is accessible for others. They want to get back on their feet. They want like those are normal kind of human like desires that you want to be able to provide for your family, and you don't want to lean on these resources when you don't have to. At least I certainly find that's the Canadian way and certainly the Nova Scotian way. So from that, and then as well, statistically, we do know that food bank clients do fluctuate their use, sometimes leaving the system, sometimes lessening their need in the system. So food banks are here for anyone who needs it. However, like often it's nice to see when clients leave, stop using food bank services, and because we hope that they're doing well and they're feeling like safe and healthy and supported. But they're obviously, our clients are welcome to continue as long as necessary.
That's right. Yeah. Historically, according to the article, food banks have a fairly high client turnover rate, which is, kind of speaks to that. So, all
Absolutely.
right. Yeah. Well, myth busted. So let's go on to number 5. Food banks prevent society from addressing the root causes of hunger. Well, I'm sure you got a lot to say about this one. So take it away, Courtney.
Well, we're going 5 for 5. We're going to bust this one.
That's the goal. Yeah, I should have said we're here to
Yeah,
bust them
yeah.
all. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's these are not this is not, food banks don't represent food security. They don't represent fixing the problems in the systems. We are we exist to serve communities and serve clients, to make sure that food is accessible when all the other things have failed. So unfortunately, it's in the food bank usage is an indicator of broader societal economic issues, and we're just a stopgap to make sure that folks don't go hungry. But there are a million other steps along the way that would be about prevention rather than the reactivity that like food banks provide. And again, that's not a complaint. It's a tough thing because when the food bank is doing great, it means people are probably not doing as well. So it's kind of a hard thing to talk about. But like in a dream world, there's no food banks and everyone is fed and healthy and happy. But that's not the world we live in. So food banks will keep doing what they do.
That's right. Yeah, and like I said, we're glad you do that. We're glad you do what you do. Well, I think we did it. I think we crushed
Yeah,
all
we busted
the
them.
myths. We
Yeah,
busted them, and thanks so much for Feed Nova Scotia for putting that out. We greatly appreciate the work they do as well. Yeah,
absolutely.
anything else you'd like to add?
I would love to do a shout out for our upcoming event that we are doing this weekend. So the St. Margaret's Bay Food Bank is has incredible support in their community, our community. And a year ago, we were able to move into a permanent space. So we have at 9A Sunny's Road in Upper Tantallon, we have a permanent thrift store food bank space. Now that we're all settled in, we're excited to invite everyone to come see us. So on Sunday from 2 to 4 p.m., we're having a celebration event to thank our community partners. There's going to be food, live music, a raffle, and we just want to kind of raise awareness about our location. So more people will visit our thrift store, which directly 100% of any money spent in the thrift store goes directly to food for our clients. It's volunteer run. It's completely based on community donations for the products. So we're trying to hype up the thrift store, raise awareness, and we'd love for everyone to come join us on Sunday.
Awesome. Sounds like a lot of fun. So check them out on this Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen, thank you, Courtney, for taking the time to be on the Nova Scotiable show. Your insight was invaluable to me and the viewers. And we all thought you were a great myth buster. So thank you for being a part of it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. Well, it was fun to play Mythbusters for a little minute. I can't even imagine what it's like not to know where my next meal is going to come from, but it's comforting to know that people like Courtney and Kevin, by the way, at the St. Margaret's Bay Food Bank are working hard to provide for those who are in need. Thank you to them and Feed Nova Scotia and all the food banks in Nova Scotia and across the country for the great work they do. Thank you for watching this episode of the Nova Scotiable Show here on NS Life TV and your online community TV channel. This is Brian C. We'll see you next time.